Tonight, several developing stories. The family swept away. A deadly storm system tonight. The mother and two children carried away in flash floods. The father reportedly holding on to a tree. A freight train derailing, catching fire, and the truck dangling off a highway. The system moving from Texas all the way to the East Coast. Also the breaking headline, the grim discovery. In the search for that missing 5-year-old boy, search dogs could only find his scent at the home and what they've now found. Tonight, the mother and father both under arrest, and what investigators revealed late today. The fast-moving investigation tonight. Do authorities believe a driver intentionally plowed into a crowd of people? The evidence they have just revealed, and the victims, including a child as young as 9. Tonight, President Trump and what he's now saying about impeachment and the Supreme Court. Can he do what he's threatening to do? The violent takedown on camera. Officers tonight accused of using excessive force with this woman. What the police chief is now saying. The horrific terror attack, and this evening, the chilling new surveillance right here. A bomber walking into brunch at a hotel popular with Westerners, and what we've now learned about where the bombs were made and what that now means. Your health tonight, and the measles outbreak in the alarming new headline tonight, a new milestone. This question, is that vaccine, the shot you got years ago, still effective? Dr. Jen Ashton standing by, answering your questions. And another deadly fall at the Grand Canyon, this time a 70-year-old woman. And tonight, the warning.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Wednesday night, and we begin tonight with that horrific scene, the deadly storm system sweeping across several states, bringing flash floods and water rescues. Tonight, a mother and her 2 children were swept away in Texas. The images coming in. Heavy rain and fierce winds, floodwaters, sweeping her car into a creek. The father, it's believed, was holding onto a tree to survive. And the accidents tonight mounting. The tractor trailer dangling over the edge of an overpass. This collision in Arlington, Texas. This entire system is moving east across the Gulf states next, then heavy rain along the East Coast. Tonight we time it out here on ABC's Marcus Moore, leading us off from Dallas.
A line of severe storms drenching Texas and marching east tonight. More than half a foot of rain in some areas already, causing flash flooding. In central Texas, high water sweeping away a family of 4 in their vehicle. A mother and her 2 children dying. The father rescued, reportedly clinging to a tree. Outside Dallas, an SUV colliding with a semi on wet roads.
It's practically hanging over the freeway at this point.
Winds gusting above 60 miles per hour at the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. And to the east at Dallas's Love Field, dozens of vehicles submerged in the airport parking garage. You can hear the pumps going. They have brought those in to try to move the massive amounts of water that have made a real mess here in North Texas. As the storms move through Fort Worth, a freight train carrying ethanol derailing and catching fire.
This has been a major operation in cleanup all morning long. Car after car flipped over, smoke in the air.
Tonight, investigators trying to figure out what caused some 25 cars to leave the tracks. And this is not over yet. You can see the raging water on the spillway just behind me as the rain continues to fall. Much of central Texas is still under a flash flood watch, and some areas could get as much as half a foot of additional rain tonight. David.
All right, watching it into the evening. Marcus Moore in Texas, thank you. Let's get right to senior meteorologist Rob Marciano tracking it all and timing it out for us tonight. Hey, Rob.
Hi, David. It's going to take 2 days for it to get here in the Northeast because it's moving so slowly through Texas. That's so bad news because of the flooding situation there. But we also have severe weather. A couple of tornadoes popping up along the cold front that will be moving to the east through Houston tonight, and more heavy rain for Dallas as a low lifts up in through Arkansas. Then I-10 it goes. Lake Charles, Lafayette, New Orleans in the morning, then Mobile tomorrow afternoon. Heavy rain, some gusty winds, likely maybe a tornado or 2 potentially. Into the Carolinas, then D.C. During the day on Friday. D.C., New York, late Friday could be a mess here in the Northeast. David?
Rob Marciano with us tonight as well. Thank you, Rob. The other developing headline late today, the grim discovery and the desperate search for a missing 5-year-old boy. Police late today reported they have found the body of A.J. Friend in a shallow grave 10 miles from his home. And tonight, after days of tearful pleas for his return, both of his parents have now been arrested and charged. ABC's Alex Perez is in Illinois.
The grim discovery this suburban Chicago community feared: the body of 5-year-old A.J. Friend found buried in a shallow grave wrapped in plastic.
It is with heavy heart that the Crystal Lake Police Department reports that we've located what we believe to be the body of Andrew A.J. Friend.
Tonight, his parents under arrest.
Both Joanne Cunningham and Andrew Friend are being charged with the death and disappearance of AJ.
Investigators today seen carrying items from the family home, including a child's mattress, along with a shovel. Police say when they confronted the parents with cell phone evidence, they led them to the body.
I just want my kids. That's all that's my life. They're my kids.
For days, AJ's parents pleaded for his return.
AJ, please come home. We love you very much.
His father calling 911 to report him missing.
When was the last time you seen him?
Last night, probably 9:30 when he went to bed.
By morning, he said AJ was gone.
When I got back from the doctor's appointment, I checked in on him, say good morning, and he wasn't there.
As a baby, AJ was taken into custody by Child Services for a year and a half. Records show police visiting the home for various reasons more than a dozen times. Just before Christmas, an officer reporting unacceptable living conditions and one of the children with a large bruise.
We've seen the kids being taken away and are always shocked that they have been returned.
Tonight, police vowing justice for AJ.
To AJ, we know you're at peace playing in heaven's playground and are happy you no longer have to suffer.
Alex Perez joins us tonight from outside the police department there in Illinois. And Alex, tonight we're hearing from Child Services.
Yeah, David, AJ's younger brother remains in protective custody. The Illinois Department of Children and Family Services says they are reviewing their interaction with AJ's family to determine if any mistakes were made along the way. David?
Alex Perez with us tonight. Alex, thank you. There is also a developing headline tonight. The identity of a driver who plowed into a group of people has just been revealed tonight. His car stopping only when it slammed into a tree. Authorities say there was no sign he tried to brake. 6 people were taken to the hospital, the youngest of the victims, 9 years old. Tonight, this question, was it a deliberate act? Here's ABC's Will Carr with the images from Sunnyvale, California tonight.
Tonight, authorities have identified the man in custody who they say barreled his car into a group of innocent bystanders. Witnesses describe a horrific scene.
This woman was thrown into the air, flipped upside down, her feet pointing straight up, and she fell right in front of my car.
The driver seen here on the ground just before he was arrested.
And he was saying over and over again, "Thank you, Jesus."
Police say 34-year-old Isaiah Peoples was behind the wheel when he floored the gas and propelled the car down a street packed with pedestrians. That tree, the only thing strong enough to stop the speeding car.
We're going to need 3 ambulances.
In this new picture, you can see officers race to help one victim. The impact so severe, he was knocked out of his shoes. At least 8 people were rushed to the hospital, including a 13-year-old girl. Tonight, 2 people are still in intensive care. But amazingly, nobody was killed. The trail of carnage visible for half a block, with bikes flipped and twisted and belongings scattered in the street. Tonight, authorities are searching the suspect's home.
Tonight, the big question is why. Authorities say they still don't have a motive. They just came out and said this does not appear to be terror-related, but they are reiterating that they do believe that this happened on purpose. David.
All right, Will Carr tonight. Will, thank you. Now to President Trump and what he's now saying about impeachment and the Supreme Court. But could he follow through on his threat? As the president also says he will block subpoenas from Congress, vowing to fight them all. Here's ABC's chief White House correspondent, Jonathan Karl, tonight.
Setting up a major showdown with Congress, President Trump declared today he won't cooperate with their investigations.
Well, we're fighting all the subpoenas. Look, these aren't like impartial people.
House Democrats have launched several investigations into the president and his administration, already issuing a subpoena to force former White House counsel Don McGahn to testify. McGahn is a central figure in the Mueller report, cited more than 150 times. The president does not want him talking to Congress.
Well, the subpoena is ridiculous. I have been the most transparent president and administration in the history of our country by far.
And then there is the fight over the president's tax returns. The Treasury Department has already missed 2 deadlines to turn them over. The president now argues that since the Mueller report is out, there's really nothing left to investigate.
And I thought after 2 years, we'd be finished with it. No, now the House goes and starts subpoenaing. They want to know every deal I've ever done.
Democrats are outraged.
We now see the administration engaged in stonewalling of the facts coming to the American people.
The president insists it's all politics.
The Democrats are trying to win 2020. They're not going to win with the people that I see and they're not going to win against me.
And he offered a novel response today to Democratic calls for impeachment, tweeting, "If the partisan Dems ever tried to impeach, I would first head to the U.S. Supreme Court." The Supreme Court, however, has no power to overturn an impeachment.
Let's get to John Carl live at the White House. John, we saw there in your piece House Speaker Nancy Pelosi in the last 24 hours asked about impeachment. She says she wants committee chairmen to hold hearings to get the facts first. But as you just reported, the president is trying to block those subpoenas. So what's the bottom line tonight? What kind of subpoena power does Congress really have here?
Well, David, Congress does have the power to issue subpoenas. The question is, what happens if the White House refuses to comply? In that case, you have a showdown between two co-equal branches of government that can only be resolved in the third branch of government. So the bottom line here is that this, if neither side backs down, will have to be resolved in the courts and almost certainly the Supreme Court. David?
Long fight ahead. John Carl, thanks. We turn next to the controversial Bodycam video just released tonight. Police officers pulling over a driver suspected of leaving the scene of an accident, ordering her out of her car, trying to handcuff her. A bystander's video showing two officers then scuffling with her on the ground, one of them raising his baton. You can see him hitting her. Tonight, what the police chief is now saying in this case, and here's ABC's Lindsay Davis.
Driver's license, proof of insurance.
This newly released body camera video starts out like any routine traffic stop.
I'll tell you what, go on, step out.
But within seconds, it quickly escalates. Jasmine Shepard pleading with a Tuscaloosa officer not to arrest her.
Sir, are you serious?
Sir.
Have you lost your freaking mind?
Sir, turning around as he attempts to handcuff her, then hitting the concrete. Police say the 22-year-old fled the scene of an accident and was charged with disarming a police officer, second-degree assault, and resisting arrest.
When you grabbed this, I could have shot you. Do you understand me? Do you know how stupid you are?
This cell phone video showing her hit with a police baton was posted by bystanders and watched by thousands, including the Tuscaloosa police chief. Now the department is launching an investigation.
I was disgusted by what I saw, what I heard, and I was embarrassed by it.
Police say they're now in talks with prosecutors about possibly dismissing the charges.
David, both officers are said to be remorseful. They remain on desk duty as the incident is being investigated. David?
Lindsay Davis with us tonight as well. Next tonight, a new and chilling video from those horrific terror attacks in Sri Lanka. More than 350 dead, several Americans among them. And investigators tonight are looking closely at this surveillance right here. A suspected suicide bomber walking into brunch at a hotel, scoping it out just moments before the blast. And tonight, what we now know about where the bombs were made. ABC's James Longman in Sri Lanka again tonight.
Tonight, Sri Lanka on high alert as U.S. officials warn of ongoing terrorist plots. Investigators keying in on surveillance footage from the moments just before the deadly attacks. Images broadcast on Sri Lankan TV from the Cinnamon Grand Hotel show a man in a backpack lingering in the dining room. Minutes later, an explosion tears through the crowded restaurant. Hours after the first explosions, a tip led police here.
This is a safe house in Colombo, which is believed to have been used by at least some of the suicide bombers.
A woman detonates her suicide vest, killing 3 officers and her 2 children. According to police sources, the identical bombs may have been made in this copper factory, possibly by one bomb maker. ISIS says this photo shows the attackers. The man at the center, a key operative known as Zahran Hashmi. His name right here on an advisory warning of a suicide terrorist attack planning to target some important churches. That advisory dated April 9, 12 days before Easter Sunday.
David, tonight the Sri Lankan president is demanding the resignation of the defense secretary and the chief of police. It's thought the main coordinator was not in the country at the time of these attacks. This could be the single largest ISIS attack anywhere in the world. David?
All right, James Longman and our team with us again tonight. Thank you, James. North Korea's Kim Jong-un has arrived in Russia tonight for meetings with Vladimir Putin, including talk of denuclearization. Kim taking the 400-mile journey on his own train, greeted by a military orchestra in the Pacific Rim city of Vladivostok, where the meetings begin tomorrow. The visit comes 2 months after talks between President Trump and Kim stalled after that second summit in Vietnam. Back to the news here at home tonight and to another deadly fall at the Grand Canyon, the third in the canyon just this month. And this time, a 70-year-old woman calling for help from the canyon's south rim. But by the time park rangers arrived, it was too late. Here's ABC's Clayton Sandell now.
It's a spectacular natural wonder, again proving unforgiving after a third person fell to their death within a month. Grand Canyon officials say a 70-year-old woman hiking by herself walked off a designated trail Tuesday. She called for help, but before rescuers arrived, fell 200 feet from the rim. She did not survive. Earlier this month, a 67-year-old man died after a 400-foot fall. And last month, near the famous Skywalk, a tourist accidentally fell 1,000 feet to his death while taking pictures. The Grand Canyon sees around 6 million visitors every year. With the busy vacation season approaching, the Park Service is warning visitors to be safe.
We just really encourage them that, they take their safety seriously and that they really think about their actions while they're visiting.
Tonight, the Park Service is warning people to avoid the edge and stay in the much safer designated overlook areas if they want that perfect view or that picture. David?
All right, Clayton Sandell, thank you. We're going to turn next tonight to your health and to a new and alarming headline involving the measles. Today, we learned that the outbreak in this country is now believed to be at its highest point in 25 years. In fact, 61 new cases here in New York City alone, including 2 pregnant women. Let's get right to ABC's chief medical editor, Dr. Jen Ashton, who's been following this every step of the way with us. And Jen, a lot of people are wondering, they had the measles vaccine years ago in their early years. Is it still effective?
That's the good news, David, is that this vaccine is considered to give you lifelong immunity, so no booster shot is needed with this vaccine.
What if you also can't remember, because it was so long ago, whether or not you had that second shot, that follow-up shot? Should you be concerned?
Most people can't remember, right, or they don't have the documentation, but in an outbreak setting, 1 dose is considered to be sufficient because it protects you 93%. But if you're unsure, there is no harm in getting a second dose.
No harm in the second dose. All right, Dr. Jen Ashton with us tonight. Jen, thanks as always. To the index of other news tonight, and we have new details about the alleged arson plot targeting St. Patrick's Cathedral here in New York City. Mark Lamparello was arraigned from Bellevue Hospital today. The prosecutor says he planned to burn the cathedral to the ground, carrying gas cans and a lighter, saying they have evidence he scoped out the location 1 day before his arrest. The defense tonight claiming he suffered a psychotic episode. The CDC confirming tonight the potentially dangerous kissing bug has been found for the first time in the U.S. and Delaware, also found in Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. The insect from Central and South America is capable of passing along a fatal infection, often biting people on the face, drawn to your breath. And a powerful image tonight, Elizabeth Smart and other survivors sending a message of support to Jamie Kloss. Smart brought together 6 other kidnapping survivors, their stories all making national headlines. Together, they want to help Kloss, the 13-year-old girl kidnapped and held captive for 88 days, her parents killed. They say it's important to come together to show Kloss she will pull through. Here, proof practice does pay off, but now so many are asking, for how long will it pay off?
And our returning champion.
He did it again last night, and he made history this time, surpassing $1 million in winnings. James Holtzhauer, 34 years old, the professional sports gambler from Vegas, winning now 14 times in a row.
Whoa, you're going to add 50,000. That takes you up to 118,816, and now a 14-day total of 1,061,554.
James is now the second player ever to break the $1 million mark. The first, Ken Jennings, who's watching, tweeting, "I don't feel I get enough credit for making small, sensible Jeopardy wagers, which help the show with its prize budget."
Answer, daily double.
James going for the high-value clues first, wagering big on daily doubles.
Are you going to do the push?
Okay, 8,200.
And to practice, James says he doesn't play like the rest of us at home. Instead, he stands in his living room wearing the same dress shoes he would wear on the show, holding his homemade buzzer.
James.
What is hanky?
James.
Was
James.
Was Lovecraft?
H.P. Lovecraft. You got him.
And James often writing in the names of his loved ones.
He wrote down a little tribute to your grandmother.
She moved from Japan to help raise me and my brother. Spoke barely any English, if anything at all. But Jeopardy was on in the afternoon at our house. My dad wasn't home yet. She would watch the program with me, even though she didn't understand a lick of it. And I promised her someday she'd see me on the stage up here. So I hope wherever she is right now, she's looking down.
I'm sure she is. She's very, very, very proud.
Remembering his grandmother, the streak continues. Thanks for watching here on Wednesday night. I'm David Muir. Good night.